So I don't think we're going to need a lot of time. I just kind of wanted to fill you guys in with where we were with our map project. And then see if I could get some ideas or at least conversations going about our relevant items on our comp plan and our open space plan. Um, so I'll start with the map because that's the most recent thing on my mind. So I did meet with Labella, maybe about a week ago or so, so that we could just kind of go over their scope and let them get started. They, again, just as a reminder, they have given us a quote to update about 4 maps and create a brand new map. They're mostly just with new data. So our old maps from the open space plan, several of them reference our PDRs, our protected farms, and we've had several new farms, and which equates to, I don't know, maybe about a dozen or half a dozen parcels involved with those. And so it just seemed like a good time to update that since we could get that data for them and they could put those in those maps. We've also passed a law creating a new agricultural protection overlay district. If you guys remember that, it was done about a couple years ago. It defines a specific part of the town within our strategic farmland protection area. It's a smaller part of that. And it's only applies to acres or parcels 7 acres or larger. And it just requires that if there was going to be any large development requiring new infrastructure for, I think, sewer, that the town board would have to approve that first before that was able to be approved by the planning board. Just another, depending on who you are, they would consider it a barrier, but for us, another layer of protection on developing farmland, or at least another chance to discuss it. So there's that. And then the other map was the one that we discussed. I don't want to say fixing, but creating a new copy of the lands of conservation value. You know, we had those conversations about how we think it's a great map, but it focuses on larger parcels and leaves out some smaller parcels that may have high ecological value because of their proximity to the lake or a river or something like that, or its location next to a protected piece of land. And so I talked with them about why we wanted to do that so they could understand what they were being asked to create. So that map will take more time and maybe some more conversations to figure out, because that map, if you guys remember when the open space plan was created, they had some weighting factors in that map. So there's additional calculations that went into it, not just big parcels that had ecological value. It was big parcels that met these factors, but then also had some other weighting factors attributed to it. So they're going to have to redo all those calculations before they can make that map.
What factors that they're considering this?
It's just based on the original ones in the map. I don't have it in front of me. I perhaps ought to. It had to do, I think some of them were proximity to protected land. Actually, I do have the map here, I think, in my folder. I can get that for you, Gary. Actually, let me see if it's written on the map itself. I have them in here. Okay. Okay, maybe I don't. Oh, I do. Okay. Okay, so the parcel rating score is based on the number of acres of each open space type multiplied by a weighting factor having to do with the following items: natural or agricultural land cover, steep slopes, regulated wetland or flood zone, land within 150 feet from a stream, or lands visible from Canandaigua Lake. So those are the weighting factors that went into this map that we all talked about at length. I don't know if you can see it, but that one.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So-
and
But that
they
one's
might-
gonna be a little more complicated for them to update, but they didn't seem like it would be an issue. Maybe just take a couple more conversations for them to understand exactly what our goal is, for them to try and understand if those weighting factors should just be the same for the new map or done differently. But at any rate, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, sorry, and show you one of the maps. If I share the right screen. Give me just a second to open it. So this is their first crack. Can you see this?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, their first crack at the agricultural protection overlay district. So this orange area is the area defined by that local law that was passed a couple years ago. It's within the strategic farmland protection area, which is the red boundary, but not all of it. It was below 5 and 20, north of Risser Road, west of 21, and the westernmost boundary was just defined by the strategic farmland protection area boundary. So that's the first part they've created. We're trying to figure out which maps this needs to go on. Obviously this map, but it's possible it may need to show up on some other maps too. They're going to go over that with us after they get some of the other maps drafted. I don't have any other maps yet. They just sent this to make sure that we were both on the same page as far as where that boundary was going to be. But so I was pleased. I mean, we've worked with Labella a lot. They did our open space plan, they did our agricultural enhancement plan. So they have all the data, they have the knowledge, they know the history, they know why these things are important to us. So they'll turn up with some good stuff for us. Timing, they still think maybe a month or two, but it could be delayed because they're waiting for some data from me, which I'm waiting for from the county. Ontario County holds all of our parcel data, the outlines of all of the parcels in the town, and they are updating that based on the tax roll and recent sales. And they were supposed to be done with that, I think, last week, but I haven't gotten it yet. So Labella can't finish drafting their maps until I give that to them. So that could be a little bit of a delay. But overall, they imagine the project would be a couple of months, add a few weeks, because of these data delays and, so this fall. And I did tell them that the next time we meet, it might be helpful if it could be on a date that we have our meeting. So you guys could be a part of that conversation. And we would wait until they have the maps, or most of them at least, drafted, so you guys could take a look at them. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Is Barbara Johnson still involved as a team leader?
Yeah, so she's the project lead, and then one of her coworkers, her name is Sarah also, is doing all of the GIS. So I've
Good.
spoken with both of them. Yeah, so Barbara's still very much involved.
She certainly knows the history.
She really does, which is why it made sense just to ask them to do this rather than, trying to have MRB do it. Not that MRB couldn't, I know they could, but we would have to get all this data from Labella anyway, so.
Yep.
So yeah, did you guys have any questions about the maps or the quote or anything like that?
These will eventually be accessible on the town's website.
Yeah, so these maps are each part of at least one of our adopted plans. In many cases, they're part of 2 or even 3 plans.
Right.
The comprehensive plan has maps from both the ag plan and the open space plan. So a lot of them are in there 3 times. So those 3 adopted plans will have to be amended And that amendment will have to be approved by the board if we want these to become part of those plans to replace the old maps. I'd probably do it as an appendix and it's just an updated map. Same thing for the open space plan, the maps that were from there. I'll probably do it as an appendix, just with an updated version, just so you can see the change over time, you know, I don't know. I don't want to get rid of the old maps, but and then same for the ag plan. Obviously, a couple of the maps started there, so we'll update that too. So, and then yes, those plans are all on our website, so this new version would be added to that. And then we can also pull out the individual maps and have them available on the website, just so someone can click on the map
Yeah.
itself. And we have that like on the page for the ag committee. Most of the maps or the main maps are available as a PDF file on that page as a standalone file, so people can just click it and look at them. So we'll do that with these two.
Good.
Sarah, I had a question on this map.
Sure.
Would it make sense to have the PDRs
Yeah,
noted
this
on
is not a final version. This is just so they
Okay.
could show me what the boundary looked like.
Okay,
Yeah, that was one of the discussions. So some of the older maps have, like this. I'm sorry, I should just do this as a shared screen, but this map shows the prime and important soils plus the strategic farmland protection area. And then I hand drew the ag overlay district on it in orange, so which is why it looks funny. But this was the original version of our strategic farmland protection area map. So there's gonna be some information that travels between maps, but we have a specific map that is protected land. And that's where the PDRs are on. They're also on another map that shows all public and private protected land, which include town parks and the Vista property for the nature or the Finger Lakes Land Trust, etc. So we're still trying to work out if this strategic farmland protection area map, if the new version looks exactly like the old version, just with the added overlay, or if there needs to be any other updates. And then if it's not completely replacing the map, then some of that old data still stands. But this is not intended to be the final version, because I agree, it's missing some of the stuff on the old version.
Okay.
We're gonna try not to lose any information. Sorry, and I think my video has a delay, so just don't look at it if it's distracting. Because it's distracting to me. Yeah, so that was a very long-winded answer. Basically, the project is moving along with just some delays, as you would usually expect with trying to find data in different places. But I'm confident it'll be a good product and we'll all be happy to have this new map, especially that one with the areas of conservation value. Having both of those versions, I think, will be really interesting and helpful.
it'll be interesting to see how different they are.
Yeah, originally I thought, well, it might just kind of mirror our hydrology map and show, the high value parcels near waterfront, but it's probably not that simple because there's, other factors too, land cover and proximity to other things. So the steep slopes and all of that. So it'll be interesting. Certainly. Any other questions on the maps? All right. So I'm going to get back to the email I sent to make sure that I cover everything I said I was going to. Okay. Now, what do we think about the comp plan items, the goals and the action items? Did anyone get a chance to kind of go through those? With the, this, like the comprehensive plan has the 10 goals, and then there's action items for like the agricultural section or the natural resources section.
You know, they all seem relevant today and well thought out. I'm not sure what would be added to them. It seems pretty comprehensive.
Well, not necessarily added, but I guess I'll just back up. So, you know, and Kim, you'll remember this, and Chuck, you probably would too. When we had our CIC committee, one of the things they did was they would go through action items and the goals in our plans and see where we were falling short, you know, or where we hadn't had any movement or any action or improvement on, you know, basically checking the list, getting it done, doing, you know, trying to achieve our goals. And if there was something that could be done, they'd try and figure out, well, how would we address this action item and what can we do and who can do it? So I was trying to see, as far as our group goes, was there any low-hanging fruit? Are there any action items that we could help move the needle on or help or recommend? And I know we have done some of this already, like, you know, we've written some memos, we've offered our support to the town board for, you know, land acquisition and so forth. And we did work on that open space policy. And then I feel like our flyers and our brochures kind of check a box, or at least education's not a box check, it's ongoing, right? But it furthers that action item, I should say, for encouraging people to consider protecting land for those people who have land that would fall under the category of land that could be protected with, you know, an easement or whatever. I just wanted to see if there were any others that we weren't thinking of, since I haven't gone through this list in a long time until now, to see if you guys had any different ideas from me on what we could do, or if there's something we could work with another group on to encourage them to work on it with us, or, you know, basically, what is there anything we should be looking at besides what we've already started looking at? And kind of why I'm thinking about this is, as we get towards the end of the year, we should come up with goals for next year. And I know when I email you, I keep throwing in our 2024 goals with updates as to where we are now. And some of those goals, I think I sent it in the last email. Actually, I'll just put it here. So some of these items here are going to have to go into next year because they're not finished yet. Like we didn't mail out the brochures because we didn't get a spreadsheet yet, which we won't get till we get our new lands of conservation value map. So like those will still be there, but if there's anything else we might want to add to our list of goals, I think we should be getting it from the comp plan or the open space plan implementation tables with the action items. I think we should be looking through there to see what those plans say we should be doing and see if there's any that we can do that we haven't already done.
Well, Sarah, looking at the comp plan, I think as far as the 10 goals, I guess specific to this committee or this team would be the, I guess, the agriculture and natural resources.
Yeah,
goals.
I found some, yes, I found items in there. I also found a couple things in the Parks and Recreation one.
Oh, okay. I didn't look that far, but I was looking at the other two. And I, you know, whether by accident or on purpose, I think we're doing a pretty good job, you know, chipping away at those, at least from my perspective. Yeah, let me see what other agriculture is. We just talked about a lot of that with the updating of the plan and making sure it's implemented as laid out. And then the natural resources, I mean, we certainly put a lot of emphasis on the NRIs and
Right.
just try and getting the community. I think it's another part of the open space plan is making sure that homeowners and landowners are familiar with what value, ecological value they have in their properties, and be aware of that when they're considering doing something with it, developing it or subdividing it.
Yeah, and Chuck, that too, specifically to you, I think the planning board does a good job helping with that too.
Well, through the
And the
support of the
ECB.
ECB, I mean, they bring it to our attention, and the Ag Committee, we certainly rely on them to look at the agricultural aspect of any project in terms of, are we losing valuable prime farmland? Is it land that isn't necessarily that critical? And so, I mean, we certainly rely on them. So, yeah, we just take that information and try to make sure we put it in any decision that we make, whether it be the ECB or the Ag Committee or anyone else that makes a recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah, so some of our goals are the same as the ECBs and even the planning board. And to some extent, Parks and Recreation Committee. Like one of the action items in Parks and Recreation is increase access to waterfront through purchase, zoning, or another means, which is similar to our goal of protecting waterfront and land acquisition where in those riparian zones. So that's a goal we share too.
True, and while you're saying that, I there's not a lot of interaction between the Park and Rec Committee and the
No.
Planning Board, and maybe that's something we got to think about at PRC when we're doing referrals. If it's a piece of property that may be of some interest or adjacent to a town property that's part of the park system, that we make sure they see it.
Yeah, although, yeah, I mean, in a way, but it usually isn't any kind of opportunity for acquisition. But
Well, which gets us into the monetary issues involved in acquisition and all that.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess now's as good time as any. Yeah, this recent application with Mink, I felt
Yes.
so frustrated because certainly it was not a property that should have any more development on it. But as far as giving Mr. Mink any type of option, what was it, about 13 acres, that lot 3 that he was trying to create?
Yeah, I think it's around 14 acres, something like that.
We as an open space team ought to be looking at how can we help him put that in some sort of land bank that he either gets a break on his taxes or and in return we certainly get the property to be preserved and never be developed because it has so many natural resource features on it. We certainly knew it wasn't prime for development, shouldn't be developed, but on the other hand, the guy does own the property. He's paid for it, he pays taxes on it, and he should have some sort of option. And we would, if we could lead him toward an option that would mean remain undeveloped and as is, that would be something. So I guess it's just something to be thinking about moving forward, where we've got these properties that are sort of classified high priority part of the ecological system in our town, and how do we preserve them even though they're privately owned?
Okay.
Would it be a role of the Open Space Committee to reach out to these individuals and actually, come up with some incentives to suggest to the town board, or what would be the process to for our involvement in incentivizing a donation or easement creation?
That's a good question. I mean, ultimately, that is up to the town board, but I think providing landowners with information, if their parcel has these features like his does, is something maybe we could do. I'd have to ask Nadler. We are not a decision-making board, we're not a committee, and I don't know where that leaves us with that. But as the town planner, I don't see why I couldn't give him that information.
Based on the recommendations of the committee or the team.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar what you did with the, where we had the joint memo go to the town board and they endorsed it and adopted it. And that worked
Yeah,
out well.
that's true. Yeah, we specifically called out some parcels in that memo.
Hmm.
Said, hey, we think this is important and maybe you should buy it. I mean, we didn't exactly say it that way, but that's pretty much what we were recommending.
And I don't think we're saying necessarily that purchase is the way to go, just other
Right.
option. I mean, in the case of Mink, I don't think the land trust would be interested in because it's too
No,
small a
it's too
parcel.
small. That's
Too
kind of what I
small.
was thinking.
But it's something that at the time, Mark had thrown out at a meeting, and I think it sort of perked Mr. Mink's interest, and I think it sort of softened the denial to some point that he thinks maybe there's something else I can do with this property other than put another house on it.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is, if we can think of options, whether it be tax incentives, a clean and green, that if he commits, or a conservation easement of some sort that puts this under some sort of restriction as to what he can do with it. In return, he gets a tax break. That's something that may be of interest to him and other people who own property that are environmentally sensitive.
So
Okay.
almost like a TDR sort of idea. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, but I guess a TDR, if I understand the principle of TDR, I think it's there you're swapping credits. In other words, a property owner would get a credit for not developing a property, but those credits could be used somewhere else in the town on a property that could be developed. That it's certainly more developable in terms of the environment. I think that's the concept of TDRs, at least from I've read about it, and we really haven't talked about it that much. And I know it's sort of got
Yeah, the
pushed,
TDRs, it's the developers would be paying a certain amount. I can't remember how it's calculated, but they pay into this bank where that money can then be used to go and put an easement on a land or buy land or do exactly like that, protect it somehow elsewhere, another
Hmm.
piece of land somewhere else in the town.
But anyway, I just brought it up because it was something that looking at the open space plan, it got me thinking about the recent application of Mr. Mink.
Yeah, no, that's a good part. There's actually a state grant for lands that have 10 or more contiguous acres that are 75% forested.
There you go.
The caveat is they have to be accessible to the public if you're awarded with the money, and then either has to be purchased by the town or there has to be an easement on it and it can remain privately owned, but it has to be accessible to the public in the end. So the landowner has to be interested in that main fact about it before they can look into it.
You don't think he'd allow his neighbors to walk over his property?
It basically makes it like a passive park almost.
Park, yeah,
Yeah.
sort of like a Miller Park, or maybe even less than Miller. Yeah.
Yeah, it can't, you're not supposed to make it into a traditional park, but it could have trails and a parking area.
So
But-
what does the landowner get in return for that?
If they want to sell it, they can sell it to the town and the town uses the grant money to purchase it. If they want to keep it, the town can use the grant money to pay for acquiring an easement on it to prevent it from being developed and to allow public access to the land.
Mhm.
The municipalities or land trusts or whomever does the application are the ones who ask for the money. And then, what you do with it is either purchase or do an easement.
Hmm.
So you have to have someone who's willing to do this first. And then,
Allowed to be open to the public. Yeah.
that's the one thing, is it has to be publicly accessible afterwards. It doesn't work like a PDR where that's kind of what PDRs do. Town applies for the grant, you get the money, you pay for the easement, but then it's not publicly accessible afterwards.
Well, I mean,
but this is just an example of one program that's out there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's also nothing to say he couldn't on his own acquire an easement on the land that just prevents development either for in perpetuity or for a term like 5 years, 10 years, 50 years or something. And then that's places restrictions on the land. And then in return, the property owner gets a credit on their income tax every year that there's an easement on it.
Income or real estate or both?
It said when you do your taxes in January.
Okay.
The benefit.
I don't remember the specifics. It's kind of confusing, but there is a tax credit for it.
Yeah, that would certainly be to his benefit. I think he also got some sort of reduction in his assessment that would help on his real estate taxes, school district primarily.
Yeah,
County.
I don't know what that would involve. That would be a question for Michelle.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting into the weeds here a little bit.
No, but it's a good conversation, even if we're just using him as the example. I mean, it's a good point, There's obvious interest in it not being developed, and there's other properties like this out there. And there's a handful of tools. These are just the ones I know about.
It's all over the hillside there. Yeah. And I think as properties are being developed, what we're left with being undeveloped are properties primarily like this that are either subject to some sort of restriction, environmental restriction that certainly is well founded and should be prevented from being built upon.
Yeah.
There would need to be a point person who would reach out to these individuals and discuss the options, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we necessarily go looking for them, but I think if we have some arrows in our quiver that if someone comes into the planning office and says, I want to develop my property here on the hillside, and the planning team in the office starts looking at it and says, boy, it's got woods all over the place. You got steep slopes, you got a stream running through it, you've got you're in a view shed. This is not a property to be developed, and be able to say to that person, here are some other options. That we really think that this shouldn't be developed, and here's some options you may have. So if we have some options to offer them, that would be beneficial.
Yeah. Well, maybe I can email him a copy of our brochure.
There you go. I'm just afraid with him, he's going to say, okay, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start clearing trees again. I'm going to if I can't build a house on it, I'm going to turn it into a deforestation project. And apparently that was something he was looking at one time, and could be something he now think is an option since he didn't get approval for the house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are a lot of ways he could do that, and he would be allowed to. So you never know.
But as far as the other goals on both plans, again, I think through dumb luck or hard work and hard thinking, we've been really chipping away at some of these things. I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Coincidentally, the action items are not big secrets, right? So they make sense, and we have an interest in those kinds of things. So some of them we're doing already. I can't find I have printed out all the action items from the comp plan right in front of me, and I had it for the open space plan, but I have lost it. So I was going to glance through those, but I can't find it.
Yeah, I had it up here.
I think I have it digitally. What I was thinking of doing was creating a spreadsheet with the action items, which I already have I think, for the open space, if I can just find it. But we hadn't done that with the comp plan, and it might be kind of fun to go through and just be able to check it off and say, look, we did all these things.
Yep.
If I find it, why don't I email that to you guys? I had it open a while back, but
And I really think the open space conservation scenic view master plan is more applicable to this. I mean, it's more specific, and
Yeah.
those are items you can look at and check off,
yeah,
or say we haven't done them yet. Kim, is there anything that the ECB is focusing on that's part of the goals that are shown here?
The ECB, let's see. We have been looking at some different code changes to try and, give some strength to some of the environmental protections. So I think that's in one of the check boxes was code
Mhm, yep.
changes.
Yeah.
Let's see. I know I just sent along a slide presentation. I had taken a webinar, and the guy was from Lake George, and it was local climate action planning. And it has some ideas, and he talked a lot about different points when you get in different programs. So it helps you get more grant funding the more points you have. So that's a possibility too, that either the ECB could look at, or open space, or a combination thereof. And I thought the Tree City USA might be a lower hanging fruit for us, because we're kind of part of the way there. And
yes.
that had points, because he was all about, if you're in this program, you're in that program, it all gets you points, which helps you get more grant funding.
Is he
So
talking about climate smart community and clean
that
energy
was
communities?
that was in there as well.
Yeah, those are point-based programs that get you access to grants, and we started working on those a few years ago. And for one reason or another, never quite finished. We are a clean energy community. We do have points, and we have gotten grant money. We are not a climate smart community. However, I believe we have enough points to be a certified bronze level. It's just gathering the information, documenting it, and submitting it.
And who does that?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I know you've been pulled in other directions.
Correct. I used to work on it. And I was getting help from Caitlin McCumsky. She was over in Highway, because she had all the transfer station data and the recycling information, and we were working on getting it, and then she left, and then we got busy, and then now I haven't had time to go back and look, but
Understood.
we probably are very close, if not at the level we would need to be. I think bronze level was 120 points.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's something I think the town should try to get.
If you're close.
Yeah. I did find my spreadsheet. So this is the open space plan, and this is the implementation table from the PDF that's just pasted into a spreadsheet.
Okay.
These are in the open space plan, instead of goals, they had them categorized into different strategies with different action items. So same kind of setup as the comprehensive plan. At some point, I don't remember doing this, but I must have done it, because this spreadsheet is not new. I did open it up and create it and try to start saying where we were with it, but this is something that, actually, Kim, with your information on the newsletter and the ECB, this might be something, if you have time, you and I could work on filling out.
Oh, certainly.
Some of these statuses where we are, because there's certainly some things we've done that need to be added to this. Um, but, and not everything is something that the town can do, but, just like the comp plan, there's a variety. There's low hanging fruit, but then like this one, encourage landowners to donate conservation easements to a land trust. That mostly comes from education and then finding the right landowners and then working with them to get them in touch with the land trust. Although now we know that the conservation easement could also be held by the town. We
Mhm.
have done that now. We've done it a couple times, so. And we do it with neighborhoods on the, like
Fox Ridge.
Brook and stuff, so it doesn't have to just be a land trust, although it's easier for the town if someone else holds it, because then they have to do the monitoring. But, yeah, Kim, if that sounds good to you, why don't you and I get together over the
Alright.
next week or two and just glance through this and see if we can update it and fill in some of the gaps, and then maybe we'll make this, and then also, I don't think we have a spreadsheet like this for the comprehensive plan, but maybe I can create one and I can do the same thing with some, because I've got some highlights and notes scribbled on mine that would work better in a spreadsheet. And then I could just send it to you guys and we can keep that in mind as we get ready for next year.
Yeah, and next time we get together as a committee or as a bigger group, we can maybe go over it and see what has to be added. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I like it. I like the spreadsheet.
yeah. Okay. Let me see if there was anything else I was supposed to update you folks on. So.
Yeah.
I did not draft a memo about PDRs to the town board yet. I haven't made it to an ag committee meeting in a little while. I've had some conflicts and they've had to reschedule. So I don't have an update on that. That was the other item I was gonna talk about.
Any updates on RSM or the Ononda Vista trail system easements?
I have not heard anything on either of those things. Sometimes that means it's just not ready to be shared yet. I haven't heard that RSM has been purchased by someone else yet, so that's a good sign.
Hmm.
But I haven't heard anything definitive. I don't know where that conversation went. I'm not having it, so the powers that be haven't
Yeah.
shared anything. As far as Vista goes, I think that one is stalled out for a little while, but I still feel like we've figured out a way that connection between Vista and Ononda could totally work. It depends on which actual path we take.
Yeah.
Literally like on the map, like which way it goes. It depends because it's different landowners that would be involved and it would mean a different type of trail. It just depends on who we end up working with. Jim Fletcher helped me a lot with this because he knows a lot of the landowners and he had helped come up with some alternative locations to take the trail. If we can't make it work with this landowner, we could go over this way, and also because he can help as it needs to go along Seneca Point Road. Because he knows like, oh, well, this area is not too steep. We could run the trail along here and then cross there and go this way, so I think it will work. I just need Parks and the town board to prioritize it.
Well, that would be
So-
great. It really would be a wonderful asset for the
Yes.
to have
Well, there
that.
was a time when we didn't think it was going to happen. And at least I don't feel like that's true anymore. I think it'll happen. It's just which landowners and which way are we going? And I think there are still conversations happening in the background on this too, but I'm not a part of those. It's typically been with town board and with our current parks director, Lindsay. I don't think there's been any movement on it, but the last time I asked, there were some early conversations still happening there.
Good.
So moving very slowly, at least that one. And then I don't know on RSM. I don't know if it's over or if it's still, still going. I just don't know.
Thanks for the update.
Yeah. But I feel
How's-
confident on the Vista connection that'll happen eventually.
How's your supply of brochures and flyers? Are they flying off the shelf or?
No, so we got one of our printers sold,
Oh,
and then
okay,
was
that's right.
repurchased by someone else, and they just gave us a quote. And I think it's gonna be better for us to go with them, which is good, because I was gonna do it with QuickPrint and it was a bit more expensive. So I held off while we could get the information from the new owner. It's more printing. The person who ran it and owned it retired. But there is a new operator. I think they're mostly up and running now. And I think they're gonna be able to do it for us. It's just getting the file in their hands and getting them to print it.
Good.
So that was good. I thought we weren't gonna be able to do it at that cost, so. Or not that we weren't gonna be able to do it, but
So is the new entity still called More Printing, or is?
that's a good question. I don't know. Tammy in our office was telling me that she'd spoken with the old owner and they told her that they're using all the equipment and, still operating. But yeah, I don't know what they're called yet, but that was a good thing because I think their quote was like $100 cheaper. So Tammy's gonna
who'da
get that.
Who'd have thunk that? Wow, that's good.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
right direction.
Tammy's gonna get us going on that, so.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, it was good. That was it on my list of updates. As of right now, we would be set to meet on October 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Unless something happens and I have no updates from the mapping, and then maybe we wouldn't need to meet, but I expect that Labella, as soon as I get them the shape files from the county, which I was expecting last week, so I'm still thinking they're coming any day now. They'll be able to work on the maps, and then the next time I talk to them is when we're gonna have to iron out some of the details on that more complicated map, and that's what I was thinking might be interesting for you guys to be in on that conversation. If you want, we can make that happen on a meeting date, since we spent a lot of time trying to figure that out ourselves. And you guys often think of things that I don't, so I kind of thought it would be good if you guys participated in that conversation. So I
sounds
can
good.
see if they're able to do that then. But I'll keep you posted. So let's just say tentatively, we'll do October 18th. It could be a Zoom meeting again like this because it's likely to be a Zoom meeting between us and Labella anyway.
Okay. Yeah, if you can distribute, go over that spreadsheet with the implementation on the open space, and get that current, and then I guess distribute that. That would be something else we could talk about at the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, Kim, next time you're here in the office, let's
Okay.
go over that and figure out a time we can just sit down and spend some time working on it.
Sounds good.
She's
All right.
always there. Seems that way when I come in.
Yes, yeah. All
And
right.
probably seems that way to Kim. Well,
I
I'm glad to
know.
hear your dog's feeling better.
Oh, yeah, emotionally, maybe not so much, but physically, I think he's on the mend.
How old is he?
He's 5.
Oh, he's a pup.
Yeah, he's kind of a sensitive guy. He's a big dog, but he gets his feelings hurt. So this morning he was just not very happy with his current situation. He hates the cone. So
Oh
Ah.
my gosh. Poor guy. Poor guy.
yeah, I know. I feel bad. I just, I can't explain it to him. So he just thinks he's in trouble. But anyway, he'll bounce back. He'll be fine.
Good. Well, good meeting as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got
Very
together.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And how do we feel about Zoom meetings? Are you okay with the Zoom meeting? Would you rather meet in person?
I'm
Um,
fine either way.
Yeah,
Zoom works great for me. In fact, I've probably been zooming into these meetings more than I've been attending them.
Yeah. I know we have a couple other people who probably would prefer an in-person meeting, so maybe we'll just try and do a little bit of both. With the remodel in the building, there may be some times when we just can't meet in person, but, and if we do meet in person, it might need to be in the courtroom instead of the room we're usually in, because the room we're usually in is going to be the development office starting in December. Well, actually November.
Oh yeah, you're moving downstairs?
Yeah, we all are. Code enforcement is moving to Butler Road Schoolhouse. The development office is moving to the Oriana room. The assessment office is moving to the highway building. And then they're gonna tear our office apart and rebuild it.
Oh, okay. So you'll be temporarily downstairs or?
Yep, yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's gonna be a while. We won't be back up here until April.
Okay. All right, well, that's good.
Yeah, it should be. I'm looking forward to it. We just, we're growing. We've got more people than we have offices, so they're gonna redo it and fit a few more offices in this area, and I think it'll work better for us all. But it'll be kind of a mess for a while, so. All right,
Yep.
so tentatively, we'll meet on October 18th. Kim and I will work on updating the spreadsheet and kind of seeing where we're at. I'll also do the same thing with the comp plan one, and then sometime before October 18th, I'll send you these two files. I will also work with Kim to get the ag committee a draft on a memo about PDRs. I think there's support in getting back into that. There's just staff issues. But it'd be good to kind of get that going, get that conversation happening. So,
great.
Okay,
Good.
Thanks.
very good. Good to see everyone and
yeah.
have a good weekend.
Yeah, you as well. Get out there, enjoy the weather, you guys.
Alrighty, take care.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.